So I've been writing code for about 23 years, and I've been in the tech startup business for about 13 years. I've done a lot of work with music and technology in San Francisco. Anyway, Dash came up with this idea of getting 500 kids together and teaching them how to code. So it's a pretty ambitious idea. So what we did is, well, when I was a young kid and I was learning how to code, I would go to the library and find books, and I would look for books that had programs in them, and I would spend weeks just copying them out of the books manually into the computer and then watching them run. So and I learned a lot along the way. Like, I didn't always understand what it was I was typing in, but I would make mistakes and have to fix them, and in the process of fixing them, I would learn. So I thought we could replicate that same thing here. So we made about 4 or 5 programs that the students could copy into the computer, and as they were doing it, they made a lot of mistakes, but they worked together and they fixed them, and I think they learned a lot.
And personally, what is your key takeaways after the 2-day bootcamp here at Zebraswap?
My key takeaway? Well, there's a couple things that I think went well. There's actually Amelia's idea was to use the Chrome platform as a platform to teach, and that was a really good decision because Chrome uses JavaScript and HTML and CSS, and those are all relatively easy technologies for new people to get into. But because we're using Chrome, the Chrome web browser, it also has ties into other more advanced features. So, for example, there was one team here that had a hardware device, and it was like a home automation control system. So he was controlling a fan across the stage from his Chrome browser, and because Google Chrome has this support for the serial port on the side of the computer, he was able to do that. So, if we had, for example, if we made the competition all about just making regular web apps, he couldn't have done that. But since we have the whole Chrome platform available, that was possible. And then the other thing that went well is I think the packets with the printed out code worked pretty well. I wasn't sure if people were just going to type them in and then run them and then lose interest, or if it was going to be too hard and they'd give up. But it seemed like people actually learned along the way, so that was good. This whole thing was more directed around self-learning, and because I don't have the resources to teach 500 people all at once, and even with a team of co-facilitators, it's still a lot of people. So we're really encouraging people to Google almost everything and work together in teams and teach themselves. It seemed to work quite well. There was a lot of people that came in with no experience at all, and they mashed up some of the ideas that we gave them. Like there was one team that took we had a chat room exercise, and then we had a photo booth exercise, and they mashed them up so that you could take the photos and put it into the chat room. So that was really cool. And that team didn't start out with very much experience. So it was really, really fun to see that. I think if we had a more traditional approach where, like lesson 1 you learn how to write variables, lesson 2 you learn how to do math, lesson 3 you learn functions, it probably wouldn't have gotten as far. I really believe that in order to learn, you need to have some personal goal. So, for example, your goal might be, I want to make a chat room with photos in it, or I want to make a drawing application. And even though that's an ambitious goal, the fact that you have some personal motivation helps you, drives you to learn more.
Out of all of the ideas that has been brought up to you guys at the bootcamp, what do you guys looking for while you are eliminating and choosing the top 60?
Right. Well, I mean, so a competition is hard because I don't really ever like to tell anyone that an idea isn't good or it is good. I think an idea needs to be, you need to build it, you need to deploy it, and an idea will either survive or not survive on its own. I mean, honestly, I don't know if an idea is good or not. And I think if you talk to most experienced investors as well, I think they will tell you that the same thing. Like, I think people have some intuition about ideas, but there's like so many surprises now in the industry. Like what comes out was successful. Like I think for example in my intro talk on day 1, I'm not sure if you were here for that, but I talked about chat roulette, You know, it's a service that lets you connect to a random stranger by video chat instantly. Like, whoever would have thought that's a good idea? That's a ridiculous idea, but it works. You know, so I mean, do you really want to be the person telling someone no, don't build chat roulette? Because, you know, maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not. So so how do we decide what's a good idea? I think if something solves an obvious problem, then that's a clear winner. You know, like there was a couple that I would probably use in my day-to-day life. There was one app that will you can put in some URLs that you kind of waste time on, and like say you'd like to waste time on Facebook, but you have to get some work done. You can type in facebook.com and put in an hour, and it'll block Facebook for an hour, so you can get focus on your work. That kind of thing I think is good.
Okay, so looking at the fact that a lot of them are beginners at bootcamp, right?
Yeah.
So they learn programming from scratch.
Yeah.
How many of those prototypes that you see that is presented,
right,
out of the maybe 60 or out of the entire group, that you think has greater potential in terms of product and market fit?
I would say so definitely the ones with the most potential were created by the teams with the most experience, I think. Although the one that I just mentioned, the one about blocking URLs, that was just new people that created that. But I guess as far as product market fit, that sort of implies that there's like a business behind it. So I would say maybe Overtask. That's probably like the most. They could charge like a subscription or something like that. How many have a product market fit? I don't know. I mean, again, it's not up to me to decide product market fit. It's up to the market to do that.
Okay.
So we'll have to see.
What is your personal philosophy as a software engineer?
As a software engineer? Oh, that's a long, deep question.
It's all right. It's sharing.
Where do I even start? Okay, I mean, I think that as a software engineer, what I find that I'm doing all the time is learning, right? So you never really like learn a subject and then you're a software engineer. You know, it's like a constant process. So, for example, if a customer or if someone comes to me with a product that they want to build, I have to kind of learn what it is they have in their head that they want to be built, and then I have to go and learn the technologies and how what they want maps onto the technologies. So, I mean, that's really what coding is. It's like learning. Like you have to. I mean, if you already knew everything, it would just be a matter of typing, you know. And coding isn't really typing. It's figuring out how a system works and how you can make that system interact with the user in such a way that it helps them or gives them some rewarding feeling. That's probably like my highest level philosophy on coding. I think what else do I like about coding? I think that's really all I would say. Anything else would just be like small minutia.
How do you motivate yourself on a daily basis? Being that in a startup life is some sort of. Are you in a startup?
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a startup life,
right.
A lot of them saying that it's sort of like an emotional roller coaster. So how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. Like, I would say that there's a sort of cliche in the startup world, like, don't be afraid of failure, right? But I think what people don't talk about a lot is, like, failure really hurts, you know? And I personally don't believe that you could do a good job doing something if you're not in love with it. You know, so if I'm working on a project and I'm just doing it for the money, and I'm not really going to do a good job. It doesn't matter if I'm smart or ambitious or not. I'm not going to do a good job. But if I'm working on something I'm in love with, I'm just going to kill myself to make it work. And when it doesn't work, it really, really hurts. And when someone just says off the cuff, "Don't be afraid of failure," it's almost insulting, you know. But the funny thing about it is, it's kind of true, you know. It's like failure is kind of part of life. So, you know, it's like one of those things, like when you end a relationship and someone's like, "Well, don't worry, you'll meet somebody new." It's like, does that really help you feel better? No, it doesn't. But it actually is true, you know. So, what was the question? How do you deal with a roller coaster?
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know. You just deal with it because, I mean, what else are you gonna do? You know, I think the people that work in certain industries like software development, or a lot of other, I mean, any other industry where you're creating something, they're motivated by building things and creating things and making things for people to enjoy. And it's not like you have much of an alternative, you know. Like it is hard and it does hurt sometimes, but you know, what else are you gonna do? You know, you just get a job that's not rewarding. I mean, I guess it's better to like. I guess a roller coaster is better than just being bored all the time. I don't know. I don't really have a good answer. There is no good way to deal with doing things that are painful. I guess you just have to deal with it.
So, if today a Malaysian developer would like to visit Silicon Valley or someplace in San Francisco to participate in tech community events, which are the top ones that you would recommend them to check out if they only have a few days in Silicon Valley?
If they only have a few days in Silicon Valley, so I think if I was going to be there for a few days, I would go on Meetup.com and just look, because there's a lot of really high quality meetups in San Francisco. So I would also look at the reviews, because there's also a lot of bad ones too. Like there's one called I think it's called Designers and Geeks. That one's a really good one. Every month they have a meetup with people who are coders and designers, and they have a. They started out where they would just meet in a bar and they would drink, but now they meet in like a large auditorium and they have these really high quality talks. But yeah, any of the meetups are really good. Like, you know, the JavaScript meetups or the Ruby meetups. So, I mean, the thing about San Francisco is it has a great community. So anywhere you go, you can like just go into a coffee shop, and there'll just be people there on laptops hacking away, and you can talk to them, you can show them ideas, get feedback.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.